All right, we'll keep going here with problem 80 on our homework for 5-5. Let's go ahead and solve this. Tan of x over 2 minus sine x equals 0. Can't solve this until we have either all tans or all sines. So we do have a formula for tangent of x over 2, and that looks like this. 1 minus cos x over sine x minus sine x. And since we're going to subtract fractions, we're going to need a common denominator. If we put a sine x in the denominator, we need another one in the numerator. And then we can write this. 1 minus cosine of x minus, let's not write sine squared. Let's jump straight to 1 minus cosine squared. So now we have all cosines in the numerator. We have a sine in the denominator, and that equals 0. All right, if I look at this, sine in the denominator, I'm going to pull that out front. I'm going to split this up into two pieces here. And I'm going to rewrite this as positive cosine squared. 1 and 1 cancel, and minus cosine x equals 0. I'm going to pull out a cosine. So cosine x over sine x equals, sorry, getting ahead of myself here. Pull the cosine x out, 1 from here, 1 from here, sine x in the denominator, parentheses, we're going to be left with a cosine x minus 1 equals 0. So our first term there is cotangent. We've got cotangent of x equals 0, and we've got cosine of x equals 1. And in this problem, where is cotangent equal to 0? That's when the cosine would be 0, and that is going to be at pi over 2 and at 3 pi over 2. And then when is cosine equal to 1? That's only going to be at 0 degrees. Okay? And so we've got those as our solutions. We can take a look, and those are indeed all of our solutions. Pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, and 0, because we only want answers between 0 and 2 pi. So we don't have to do the plus 2 pi n thing. Oop, too far. Problem 90 now. Sine x plus y, cosine x minus y. Problem looks complicated. It's going to be simplified if we rewrite it like this. Sine of A, cosine of B, and go looking for that formula. And so if we find that for 90 here, the formula here is 1/2 sine u plus v, or in this case, sorry, A plus B, plus the sine of A minus P. So if we go ahead and plug this in, what's our A? Our A is this whole parentheses. What's our B? Our B is this whole parentheses here. And so we're going to have to just keep track of our parentheses as we go through. 1/2 sine of A, which is x plus y, plus B, which is x minus y, plus sine of A minus B. One more parentheses. A lot of parentheses there. All right, so let's clean this up. 1/2 sine x plus x, the y's cancel. Sine of 2x plus sine x minus x, y plus y, 2y. And so it's going to be our final answer. We've cleaned everything up. And it says, write it as a sum or a difference. We've written it as a sum. There's a plus in the middle there. So we know we're done. All right, closing in on the last few problems here. Cosine of 120 plus cosine of 60. We're looking for our formula cosine A plus cosine B. And so if we look into our formula sheet here, that is 2 cosine a plus b over 2 cosine a minus b over 2. And so we plug these in. 2 cosine 120 plus 60 over 2 cosine 120 minus 60 over 2. Let's clean up our parentheses. 2 cosine 120 plus 60 is 180 divided by 2 is 90 times the cosine of 30. Cosine of 90 degrees is 0. Cosine of 30 is rad 3 over 2. 2 times rad 3 over 2 times 0 is 0. So that's our final answer. Alrighty, 110, sine of a plus b. So they snuck this one in here just to make sure you have all your formulas, because the sine of a plus b is actually in 5.4 when it was first introduced. So we'll have to go back to 5.4 to find that formula. And our formula for that is sine alpha cos beta plus cos alpha sine beta. So now we're just going to plug in. Let's look at alpha. The sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse 13, the 5, 12, 13. So 5/13. The cosine of beta, 3, 4, 5, right triangle, 4/5. Plus the cosine of alpha is going to be 12/13. And the sine of beta is going to be 3/5. So as we work our way through here, we got 20 over 65 and another 36 over 65. So our final answer is 56/65. All right, last problem here. Problem 120. Secant of u over 2. Let's prove this. All right, so what we can do here is we can actually start. I know we usually say let's start with our more complicated side, but we have a formula for this actually. So let's go to where we have a formula and see if that'll help us. So secant of u over 2 is the same thing as 1 over the cosine of u over 2. And so that's going to equal 1 over the square root. And it's plus or minus out here. That's going to take care of this. I'm not going to write it every single time on the lines. Know that the plus and minus is there. 1 plus cos u over 2. All right, 1 over a fraction means we can flip the fraction. So let's just rewrite this as 2 over 1 plus cosine of u. And here's where you have to be a little tricky on this one, because typically you would think to yourself, all right, I've got a 1 plus in the bottom. I'm going to say 1 minus cos over 1 minus cos. And that would be great if you were actually trying to simplify this and make it as good as possible. But we're not trying to do that in this problem. We're trying to make our formula equal the right side here. So equal this and this. So if we look at this, we have to ask ourselves, all right, how do we go from a 2 here to a 2 tan u here? Well, we could multiply by tan u. But if we did that on top, we'd have to do it on the bottom. You can't just introduce things wherever you want. So if we have it on the top and the bottom, let's go ahead and distribute the denominator there. Let's clean that up. We've got the square root 2 tan u in the numerator. Looking pretty good. That's what we want here. In the bottom, 1 times tan u is tan u. Okay, good. That's what we want here. Plus cosine u tan u. We're one step away. Remember that tan u is sine over cosine. So this cosine and that cosine are going to cancel, and we're just left with sine u. And so we have accomplished our goal, and we are done. All right, if you have any other questions, please come see me, but that is all she wrote for 5-5.